ever said to me before that I can't be here anymore.
I'm John Hayes, manager of Pittsburgh Songwriters Circle. A bunch of Pittsburgh songwriters get together once a month just to critique songs, talk about them, talk about the art and craft of songwriting. We do a compilation album once a year. We're now on our 14th. We just released our 14th album. I think it's a chance to, songwriting is kind of a lonely occupation preoccupation. You sit there and if you're not in a band, who do you talk about it with? You know, when you have a good line and it doesn't quite work into the song, how long do you hang on to that line before you just skip it and do something else? Who can you ask? Well, we can ask each other here, and that's what I find valuable for me. I used to be an A&E writer for the Post-Gazette, and in 2004, the fall of 2004, I heard that some local group had an assignment to write a song about something you read in the newspaper. I have a song called Obituary, which fit right into their theme. So I came and I didn't really play in front of people, but I brought my guitar and I played the song, and they liked it. I was surprised. And we started talking about it, and they had questions about it. And as we went around the circle, everybody playing their songs, I realized some of these people were really good. Sue Gartland was there that night, Jack Erdy was there, Howard Davidson was there, some really good local songwriters. And I realized that most of them hadn't recorded or I guess Jack probably had, but most of them hadn't really recorded their songs. And I thought, this is more interesting than I thought it was. So I wrote the article, but then I just started coming back to the group. And the first time I came back in January or February, I brought up this idea of an album project. I had spoken to the producer who I had been working with and came up with a good deal, a good rate, a special rate he would give to the group. And I told them how it would kind of work. And it's been going along now for 14 years. The group has gotten bigger. And I feel like there's a camaraderie among the people. It's not the same people who meet every time. I think there's 215 people on the mailing list. Pittsburgh's a blue-collar town that has a lot of influences. Everybody comes into it with their own baggage or their own prism through which they see the world. And those people tend to find each other somehow in Pittsburgh. The metal kids kind of find each other, and the bluegrass people just kind of find each other through open stages, through groups like this, maybe just through a friend of a friend, and there's little pockets of things happening all over town. There doesn't seem to be a big venue where a critical mass could happen. 25 years ago, when graffiti opened, there suddenly was a big venue where a local band could grow and aspire to play at this place where they could draw 1,000 people or more. And do 2 shows a night perhaps and draw thousands of people. There doesn't seem to be that right now. I think that would, and venues come and go, it's just the business. So it will happen again, and when it does, you'll feel this critical mass happening where all this stuff bubbling underneath sort of comes up, and suddenly there'll be like several big bands that are big regionally. That'll happen again. It happens in every town. There's a cyclical thing that happens. But I'm kind of excited to see how what we have right now is growing and coming into something larger. There's a diversity in things happening. I wish there was a little more tolerance or acceptance among the groups. When you used to go to a record store and you see the dividers between, I never saw that. I always saw music as like a prism of color, and I didn't know where country ended and rock began, or you know what I mean? And I don't really know where, there's like 3 or 4 different jazz groups, not an official group, but the Dixieland people and the different kind of people meet and they play out together, but they may not necessarily like each other, or there's a bit of maybe they're challenging each other for venues or just public attention. But I kind of wish there was more inbreeding sort of among all those groups and a little bit more support where people from one band would actually take a night, sacrifice a night at home and go out and see somebody else just to do it. I like that kind of thing, and I wish a little more of that happened. I'm not saying it doesn't at all, but that's always good for a scene. I'm John Hayes from Pittsburgh Songwriters Circle, and Mr. Bones knows me.